what was evoked for me, which was, you're not going to get out of this town, are those sundown
don't let the sun
areas
go down on your ass.
Because there were times when black people, my mother's in the audience today, thank you for coming. And my mother and father, because they were an interracial couple, were run out of South Carolina by the KKK. And my father is still scarred from that experience, and you are still scarred from that experience. So
we're all still scarred from that experience.
So don't tell me that not only was he aware of what he was doing by using that imagery, he embraces that imagery.
Oh, for the love. That is so stupid. I'm so tired of this being the go-to, the default for progressives. Welcome back to the program. Dana Loesch here, top of the second hour on this Friday. That was what's her face, Sunny Hostin or whatever from the Shmoo. So they're accusing. They keep going. They're still going after Jason Aldean for this song, and I'm just. I mean, I cannot believe that this is what they're so obsessed with. And they're like, oh, this is They're saying that actually they're demonstrating their bigotry. Because they're saying, well, because he's country artist, and he's probably in the South. He's talking about sundown towns. No, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. Here's what really, really gets me about this. And I've written about it, and I've talked about it a little bit before, because I said there's nothing controversial about it, and I maintain that there's nothing controversial about this song, because it is so dumb that people are freaking. It has nothing to do, I mean, nothing in the video has anything to do with race or in the lyrics. But like I said, progressives have been so damn desperate to make it about race because they want to deflect from the reality that most of the areas that their riots burned down or affected the worst were black communities. They want to ignore the fact that the cities that are affected the most by violent crime are generationally controlled black cities, or Democrat cities, and black citizens suffer, like Chicago, my hometown of St. Louis. The stuff that he's condemning are like, the stories like I told you, the guy selling ice cream in Oakland, 80-year-old man pushing his little ice cream cart. And broad daylight, he gets robbed 3 times, one time on camera, broad daylight. Or stories about people getting carjacked. And then, some of the riots. Why is it that whenever you show Democrats the violence in which they incite and participate in, you're condemning it, they say that you're encouraging it? They tried this with me when I did commentary, and I was literally condemning violence while I had actual video of the violent riots that they led in cities across the country in the wake of George Floyd. And they were like, oh, she's encouraging violence. By condemning it, that's how they try to get by it. They try to excuse it by rewiring what you think of it with this performative outrage. But what even gets me more about this is not even about Jason Aldean. This is about progressives thinking that minority Americans can't have community. Think about it. That's what he's talking about in the song, is community. And you don't necessarily have to be in a small town to have community. It's kind of an interchangeable sentiment. I mean, try that in a small town. Try that with anybody's community. Try that with a community of people that have each other's backs. And I think it also speaks that progressives don't believe, apparently, that black Americans or Hispanic Americans or any other minority can live in a small town. I think the people that are pushing this have never been to a small town except to go to a wine country. That's it. That's the only time they go. They go to drink wine. And they ignore small towns any other time. But that's really what they're denying here. Their outrage over this song is their denial of community within minority Americans, or a denial of minority Americans being able to participate in any or be part of any community. I mean, ask yourselves, everybody, if that happened in your circle, if people were, if that was your grandpa, 80 years old, pushing an ice cream cart, or if that was a grandpa in your area, y'all know you'd stick up for him. You know you would. And I think that people like Sunny Hostin, they perpetuate the very bigotry that they pretend to condemn. You can't condemn bigotry while pushing it. You can't sit here and say that something's bad while you're actually trying to sell it. That's what they're doing. That's what she's doing. That's not to say that every community is perfect. It's not. No community is. Every area has its faults. Small towns are no exception. But there's a reason why, particularly when lockdown hit, where are all the people in the cities moving to? Think about it. All the headlines you've heard over the past couple of years, where are all the city dwellers moving? Everybody is moving to the country. It's like canned heat. It's going up country. Everybody's moving. There's been measurements for moving trucks, people move into the country, everyone moving to small towns. They want to get away from the crime that they see in the city. They want to get away from the draconian lockdowns, like whether it's school, whether it's businesses, everything that happened, the high taxes. They want to get rid of all of it. They want to go to where it's free. It's like, the places you'll go. It's opener there in the wide open air. That's where they're going. What it would have been, I mean, I'm looking at a ton of different headlines here that I've just saved over the years. People are moving to the country. People are moving to small towns. It's more affordable to live there. They think that it's less stressful than living in the city. It's Gen X, Z, and millennials. They are super happy. It's called the rural migration trend. And it has been at a hot pace. They said the increasing number of people are moving to small towns. You know, they're apparently so bad. If they're so bad, why is everybody moving to them? If they're so bad, why is everybody snapping up these old houses? If they're so bad, why are people chasing up property values in these small towns? It doesn't matter if it's, Upper Peninsula in Michigan. It doesn't matter if it's Southern Missouri. It doesn't matter if it's out in Indiana. It doesn't matter if it's out in Ohio. It doesn't matter if it's in Alabama. It does not matter. Everybody has been moving to a small town. And one of the other things is that remote work, lockdown proved that that could happen. That could work. You don't need to necessarily, not every job requires you to go into the office. So people are taking advantage of that. University of Arizona, their urban planning studies department actually looked at this and measured this dynamic. And they said that when the pandemic hit, small town living exploded. And it didn't even matter necessarily whether there was the infrastructure existing or not. They have high buying power and they'll make it happen. So this has been ongoing. So if it's real bad, if small towns are real bad as all that, if they are as real bad as the way the left is making them, why are people moving there? Why do people want to be a part of it? Another headline, Americans continue to move to smaller cities. The migration to smaller towns continues. Small towns drew the most new pandemic residents. Denver 7, people are moving out of small towns, or moving into small towns and out of cities. BBC, small cities and towns booming from remote work. I mean, on and on and on. U.S. News and World Report, small towns are becoming the most popular place to live in the United States. Young Americans are increasingly moving to small towns, Time Magazine. Business Insider, small towns in Florida are the most popular. Wonder why. Everybody's moving to small towns, the type that Jason Aldean is singing about. The other thing, too, that I think that this tantrum, this outrage that they're all having, is this is a continuation of an attack on a cornerstone of the United States. What is our motto? What's the motto of the country? E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. As I've said before, you can go anywhere else in the world. I was in Italy for 2 weeks. As much as I loved it, I can't say, oh, I'm Italian. Can't go to France and say I'm French. You can come to the United States and you can say you're American. Because it's not race that unifies. It's not religion that unifies. It's the desire to be free. That is the shared characteristic. Out of many, one. That is one of the scariest things to a communist, because the United States motto is it's about people who desire freedom, who come together. That's why they try to act like the phrase melting pot is somehow politically incorrect. That's the strength of the country. People willfully choosing this, not born into it, not heritage. They're choosing to be free, to remain free. If they didn't want to, they could leave. If they didn't want it, they could leave, but they don't. That's what that is mainly. It's an attack on the unity. They have to keep reminding people of past mistakes. That's why with progressives, redemption is dead. Because redemption paves a way to forgiveness, all of that paves a way to reconciliation. They don't want reconciliation. Reconciliation leads to unity. Unity leads to strength. And strength with free people is a threat to statists and statism. That's why they're pushing this, any opportunity that they can.